Okay, good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. It's Friday, April 23rd, 2021. And we're going to go ahead and get started with our pre-market analysis here. And before I do that, I do want to reiterate what happened yesterday at this sell-off here. So we were doing our study session, and just about 10 a.m. Pacific, I told everyone we had some 10-minute, 3-minute, 1-minute, 5-12 divergence to try this short, understanding we were in a bull push, but worth the risk to take a few ticks of heat to try it short. And sure enough, 4 minutes later, we had the huge sell-off. Now, when you go to the higher time frames, you'll also see on the 4-hour, the hourly, and the 30-minute bearish signals as well. So this pullback into the news that we got that they were raising capital gains or the capital gains tax rate was in the cards already. We already had indications for a big pullback, and then the news came out, and we got probably maybe just a little bit further than maybe we would have had that news not hit. But anyway, it was in the cards. I just wanted to point it out. And we do have it recorded in real time that we called a pretty significant bearish divergence up here before the market ever made the move back down. So just want to point that out. So let's get started here. I'm going to go to my high time frames. And again, we want to look at pretty much everything. So I'm not going to spend too much time. Quarterly, still super bullish. No signs of reversal or exhaustion. Same thing on the monthly. Same thing on the weekly. And so now we're back here to our daily. And you can see that basically the last 3 days, it's very hard to actually get any type of indication here because we've been chopping around right inside Tuesday's price action. We broke it just by a point or two yesterday, but overall it's just been a sideways kind of chop here pretty much for the whole week. And so on this daily, we got that bullish indication that led to that bullish move that we called the other day. But right now, because we're so sideways in here, it's hard to interpret the divergences in the RVI. So there are definitely no clear signs of reversal here, but at the same time, there are no clear signs of any type of push at the moment from a daily perspective. And what we might find is that today we don't have a clear picture. So the stars, are not quite aligned. And that's going to happen from time to time. You're not going to always have a beautiful picture giving you a really clear indication of where the market could be going. Kind of like what we had on the 20th, or the close of the 20th going into the 21st. That was really clear that we were going to have a bull push, and sure enough, we did. So let's go down and see if the short time frames give us any more information here. So we do have some bearishness in the pre-market. So off of the overnight high, you can see, I guess it's hard to see, but you can see that we came down here, but we pushed up, right? So price pushed higher, but RVI pushed a little bit lower. And so there's a little bit of exhaustion there in this attempt to push back up to retrace the range. And so I guess from the 4-hour, you can make the argument that you have a bit of bearishness off of the overnight high. But again, we're kind of in that scenario where we're kind of sideways here, and there's not a very clear indication of what's going on. So we'll keep that in mind. So it's kind of unclear on the daily and the 4-hour as to what's going on here. When we go to our 60-minute, this is where we get some pretty clear indications of some bearishness off of the overnight high. And then right now, what we're getting, like I said before, is we are starting to get bullishness off of the CP here, just below 41.2950. So off of 41.29 quarter here, like I said before we started this pre-market analysis, this was a decent buy because we do have a number of time frames giving us some bullish indications from that level. So we did have this bearish indication, but it's led to now a 10-point pullback, and that's all we could potentially get. And now we're getting the opposite indication off of the CP. And so from a 60-minute perspective, right now in the immediate area, we do have a bullish divergence off of that CP. So we want to keep that in mind. And as we dial down here, like I said before we started the pre-market analysis, we're going to pretty much see the same thing. So on the 30-minute here, we also have this push higher off of the previous swing low, and we've come pretty much lower on the RVI. And so we have this bullish indication on the 60-minute as well as the 30-minute, and then when we jump down to the 10-minute, we're also going to see it. But just to point out, we also had that bearish signal on the 30-minute as well. And so this pullback was also in the cards in the overnight here. So currently we do have some somewhat ambiguous signals on our high time frame and higher intermediate higher time frame. But as we dial down to the shorter time frames, we are getting a clear bull divergence in this immediate area. So let's go to the 10-minute here. And on the 10-minute, there really was no sign of reversal up at the top here. As you can see that we did push higher, and so did RVI. So really no actual exhaustion pattern from a 10-minute. But on this this pullback right here, you can see, you can see that we've got divergence where price pushed higher, the RVI pushed lower, and we're right here at the CP. So, and then from that previous swing low, if you want to kind of extrapolate back, you also can see that we basically stayed exactly the same on RVI. So we have what's known as an exotic or exaggerated bullish divergence there. So now we have 1 hour, 30-minute, and 10-minute bullishness off of the CP here. And then we're going to see the same thing as we come down to the short time frame. So we've got the 3-minute giving us that same indication, and you could just take my word for it, but I just want to show you the pattern so you get used to seeing them. You have this really clear classic divergence here where price pushed to a lower low, but the indicator pushed to a higher low. And so overall, everything is looking nice off of the CP, but we need to keep in mind that if we don't get the follow through that we might expect from the signal, that we're then going to have to kind of readjust what we're looking at, if this level then breaks. So currently it's looking okay. On the 3-minute, there's no sign of exhaustion on this push up. And on the 10-minute, let me just look here. 10-minute as well does not quite have a sign of exhaustion here. So, just based on what the signals are saying, we should get a higher high, even if it's just a few ticks. So I don't think that this, just based on signals, that 34.75 is it for this push. But we'll have to see. Remember, it's not 100%. And maybe I should just point out here, as things are pretty slow right now, that we do have our previous daily levels, and breaking above 50% of the previous day, which really was the previous few days of price action, is going to give us a little more confidence in this bullish bias coming into the open. Because if they can hold above that, that's a good indication that we could come up and potentially test the all-time high if there's enough strength. And it's important to note here from a prediction point perspective that if we hold the prediction point, the CP here at 29.75, the next CP is up here at 58. And so typically what you're going to see is a defense of a CP, then it pushes to the next CP, and then once it breaks that CP, you go up to the next CP. And so these new prediction points here for today are showing that we are defending the current CP here, so we could expect to push up to the next one up here around 58. Now, it's important to point out here, there's a level that I don't have marked, but I'll go ahead and mark it right now, and I'll have to update it on my other charts. But you can see that we had some resistance in the market here right around 49.50. And then when we came back to it over here yesterday, we had a really nice bounce from 49.25. And so from that swing low, we then broke, and now we have not been back to test. So there's a possibility that 49.25 could end up being a little bit of trouble for the bulls on the way up. And so I'll mark that on a few of these charts here. 49.25 up above. Okay, we had 50 that was there. So we're going to update that 50 to, we'll call it 49.50 here. And so this level should be important on the way up if they cannot get there. Just a few seconds here until the open. We got about 30 seconds. And they seem to be having trouble getting through, but like I said, I don't have that bearish indication off 34.75. So we should come to a new high, but sometimes that's not, sometimes it doesn't work out the way it looks like it should. Remember, with a few seconds here, bull bias into the open, as long as we can stay above 29, and then we have to kind of reassess here.